Howdy, folks. Can you give us a sound check and a video check? And yeah, gotta watch all those sulfites. Not good.
Oh. Oh. We'll have something on how to deal with sulfides later.
I think it's called Pepto-Bismol. Oh wait, that doesn't work on sulfite.
No, it's a dull red.
That would be very painful.
It could be.
Just saying.
So it might be about
the little penis fly trap.
Hey Chris, how's it going? Audio cutting out, huh? Check and make sure it's plugged in at the other end little. You got that? Make sure that's plugged in solidly to the... something happened there.
Yeah, let us know now.
Recheck.
Better.
Breaker 19, sound check. Hey Forrest, how's it going? Wake up. I don't want to wake up. How's the whining coming through? Is the sound quality good? How are you doing, Forrest? It's working, huh? Okay. Come on, Keith. What's new? Strike that big 40-ounce. Nope. Seems better. It might have been a bad contact there. All this stuff goes through a USB bus, and it might have been knocked loose over time. Anyhow, no, we haven't struck the 40-ounce nugget. Nope. For those of you who watched the video I posted yesterday, we found an interesting little hole living life in the slow lane, huh? Well, it's less stressful that way for us. And we didn't do much exploration. We just collected samples from dumps because it was real simple. We were only scheduled to be out there for a single day, so we were keeping it quick and dirty. And I think we got, I don't know, over 6 buckets of sample, well, probably half bucket. Wow, that's weird, honey bunny. It's not a shaft, no. It's a hole that then has a couple little lateral cuts inside it where they were following structure. But I don't know how deep they went because I didn't go in it. I didn't have the climbing gear on me. I didn't have really the time. We're almost certainly going to go back there this weekend. Okay. And probably make a 2-day trip out of it because it looks so interesting and there's a lot of things we need to check. So let me just kind of give the overall layout of the situation.
Here, let me get it.
Okay.
There you go.
Here we go. Here's the white. So here's the road. This is the road we would normally use to get to Montana Beach. There's a drainage right here. I don't know if I've ever seen water flowing in that creek. It's basically a dry creek bed right here. And then right here, there's a...
Hi, John. John Faber.
Okay. A very, not very steep, a fairly steep but normal hillside slope here. Got trees and stuff on it. And then this becomes almost bare rock. Now, the sedimentary layers dip this direction. They're going in down at about 60 degrees. And somewhere here, presumably, there's another fault line where this next block has been tipped up. These ridges right here, there's a series of ridges where along these long faults it's been broken and the material tipped. So we have a relatively short hillside, nothing extraordinarily steep at all. Easy to walk up, not in terms of it's like strolling across flat ground, but it's not difficult.
Nothing like last week.
And then,
Well, the other week,
I could just walk down here with a bucket to the road too. So again, it's take your time, but it's not that difficult. Now this ridge kind of peters out right here where this drainage comes through and meets the road. We didn't spend a lot of time looking on this. Again, we were short for time. We had things that we planned to do. And hey, Sarah, but going in this hole was not one of them. So not a problem. Walking this drainage was not one of them. Not a problem. This weekend, we're going to scout the whole area to see what access is. It's possible that from this road here, we could literally drive up this drainage on the quad, come up top of this ridge without much difficulty. I don't know. We shall see. Yeah, it's not mountain goating here. Now, it appears that there is a fault trace that runs along here. This area here is visible, where the structure you can see is east-west. The sedimentary layers run north-south. They dip to the east, rise to the west. So this appears to be a fault. Now, if you remember the picture I took from here, looking up at the ridge, there's a couple of gaps that also appear to be faults. If you're standing up there looking down, you'll see this thing kind of lined up pretty good. So it's entirely possible that, yeah, we're doing fine, muscle up, that this fault goes all the way across everything. Don't know, but it's a reasonable possibility. Next weekend, I'll scout this. I want to see how much of this fault trace I can clear off. Down here, no joy, because there's a big dump, and then there's a fair amount of soil cover down in this area here. But up here, it's almost bare rock. And so it should be pretty easy.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Muscle Up.
To just clean it off, sweep it off, and follow
Farmer
it.
John, I wish we could drill and do all kinds of other things. Huh.
Yes, it would be helpful, Farmer John. It would also be expensive. And I'm almost certain it would require permitting. If I was going to core drill, I'd like to start at by this road, one side or the other, and drill into it this way so that you're basically running perpendicular to the laminations of the sedimentary layers and see what you can get on these, because it looks to me like there's 3 pack rat style layers there, 1 perpendicular vein, 3 pack rats in about 30 feet. So it's pretty interesting. Now let me go to a close-up here. Can I reach? Barely. Okay, so we have a hole. And then this dump down here. And on this side, we have that rusty spot, which my opinion, was clearly a stockpile. Okay. I'm not sure if that was the high grade or not. We took a sample of it years ago. It had significant gold, but not rich. It had substantial silver, but again, not rich enough to mine. And so, is it risky messing with a fault? Okay. In this case, Sarah, we're not talking about like a tectonic structure such as the San Andreas or anything like that. We're talking essentially something that many, many years ago, millions of years ago, as the ground here had magma injected and left and stuff, the rock was heaved and broken and moved and this and that and the other. But the actual fault line itself is not active or stressed at this time. Okay? So you're basically just talking a crack that existed in the rock, and in this case is probably now all completely cemented together. So that is not too. Now, here's the question. What is the difference between a joint, I don't mean the kind you smoke, and a fault? They are both cracks in the bedrock. But a joint has no movement on it. Okay? You could have rock that's, for whatever reason, is just cracked. That would be a joint. If that rock has movement along it, then it's called a fault. In the case of Montana B, the perpendicular vein is where stuff filled the void and re-cemented the broken rock of the fault line there, and you can actually see, because of where the tunnels cross the fault moved, the southern side moved about 5 feet compared to the north side. You can follow the crack, and it just, it changes and goes over there, that layer. It's like, okay, we got about a 5-foot lateral displacement. Okay. So I'm assuming this is a fault, but it could just be a joint. Okay. Until you can find where it crosses another structure. Let's say you've got your layers. This is the end of your layers. Okay. If they're like this, crack goes like that, that's a joint, not a fault. If, on the other hand, it does this, then it's a fault, because you can clearly see there's been some movement there. Okay? And so, one way or the other, okay? So, this is not an active tectonic fault. It's just a superficial crack in the rock that, as things happened, it moved. Yes, it has been, honey bunny. So this is part of what we want to do this coming weekend, is to literally sweep this off and clean everything back, the sand and gravel and rocks, and then literally sweep it and see exactly what's going on here. Now in here, it looks to me like there's a zone that's, what, 18 to 24 inches wide. And so this looks like re-cemented. It looks very similar to the perpendicular vein. I think that's essentially what it is. But I mean, it's this wide. Let's see, let me get my hands. That wide. Okay. So, hey Dan, how's it going? So, on the end here, you have areas where they've dug much deeper, wider. And I believe these are pack rat style structures. I believe this fault line goes this way, and then pack rat structures come off from that between the sedimentary layers. Now, I don't know. We didn't take that much time to look, but it's easy access there. I'll probably have a safety rope with just a dolly. I don't see much problem. And then this right here might be deep enough that it would be trouble if you fell down it. Not too sure about that. Again, I didn't have the stuff right with me. Didn't want to take the time to worry about it this weekend. Got lots of samples right on surface. What the heck? Okay, so this area here looks like it has a couple pack rat structures, and up here, like a pack rat structure. They kind of dug this out a bit too. Okay, much more
Hi,
shallow.
Dan. Hi, David.
But so it looks plausible, like we have 3 pack rat structures in about 40 feet. Now, at the Montana B, the pack rat structure where it intercepts the Earth's surface has very little gold in it. Very little indeed. This is presumably through the leaching over many, many, many years. So the samples don't have to run that good to look pretty interesting here. I suspect they'll do okay, but we'll find out a lot more tomorrow. We're going to head out to the ranch and crush them up and pulverize the splits and then, all that stuff. And so once we get a little panning action on this, then we can get an idea of which samples are the most interesting. And then those samples, we'll go ahead and do some bottle rolls. Okay. And that'll give us actual numbers. I believe the odds are, because it's right next to Montana B, most of the gold in this is not going to be pannable. It's going to be too fine. Montana B was 80% 6.8 microns minus, 80% by weight. Okay. Therefore, I assume something similar here. Okay.
Well,
I'll take care of it. At Montana B, when we first got there. Okay. At Montana B, when we first got there, there was a decline that had a ladder in poor condition. And I rappelled down there, repaired the ladder and stuff. And the decline itself was a double compartment decline with just stalls supporting the ceiling. The back there is just solid. It's a giant slab of tough quartzite about 6 feet thick. Okay, Farmer John. But anyhow, so the stoping to the sides has been heavily taken over by pack rats. They have built middens and stuff over the years, and especially right to the north of the ladder itself. There was a hole there, there was a stope in there, and it was just pack rat midden and everything else, but it was kind of up high, so we called it the pack rat penthouse. What a pack rat structure is in this case simply means it's a replacement vein placed between the sedimentary layers, as opposed to what we're referring to in this, a perpendicular vein is a fault line that cuts through all the sedimentary layers and has, it basically looks like fracture filling as opposed to a replacement vein. Now, some of these layers of sediments are in fact dolomite. And so they're different types of depositional models, different chemistry to some extent, and therefore we're looking at somewhat different, but mainly it's like, how were they in place? Where was the void that was filled and how is it made? Perpendicular vein means basically an east-west fault line that was fractured and filled with deposited solids from solution. A pack rat structure means something put between the sedimentary layers in a north-south orientation, typically dipping 60 degrees down to the east, and probably a replacement vein where the dolomite has actually been chemically removed and replaced with silica and iron compounds, okay, and the gold. So that's what we're looking at. When I say kryptonite, I'm talking about a very high silica material that's also heavily mineralized, and it's very tough, thus the phrase kryptonite. But it's essentially a polycrystalline quartz that's very tough. And that's what, we're looking at those stockpiles that they put there, and most of them seem to be what I would look like kryptonite. It looks like mineralized, tough quartz. Okay.
Yeah, that stuff eats real bit.
Yeah, it's really tough. If you have a carbide tipped masonry bit, it'll go about 5 inches before it needs resharpened. That's if you're cooling it. So as I say, that's, you can see why it's simpler for us to just, there was a lot of stockpiles there. It's like, let's just grab buckets from those for this trip and see what we come up with. But down in here, it's going to take some work. Up here on this extension of the fault, it's going to take a little work to clear that off and literally get a good picture of what's there. Okay? We're not going to be able to just go, I see what's going on. Down here, it looks fairly clear. We have a 18 to 24 inch wide perpendicular vein, heavily mineralized, with a couple of pack rat style structures. Okay? So I hope that explains it, Honey Bunny. But that's basically what we're talking about here. It's a very idiosyncratic designation. Just like you might have something that's called, Little Goat Gully or something, that sort of deal. So that's the basic plan for this weekend, to thoroughly examine this area and get a lot of samples. It should be pretty easy to exploit even without a permit, because we're so close to the road. We could easily set up some kind of a high line and zing buckets down from up high without too much trouble. So we need to get a more thorough examination, and more specifically, more thorough sampling, and then analyze the samples. Taking the samples doesn't do us much good. You have to analyze the samples, and we haven't even got to that yet. That'll be tomorrow. That's when we start. The general process would be crush and split, pan, and assay. The good stuff. Okay? For example, if we did all this and they all showed reasonable gold, then we take like a couple of the best ones and send them off for assay. Okay? And so that's our basic.
Farmer John says, I want to analyze samples.
Yeah. So that's our basic plan of action for across the road, because literally across the road. Okay. Uh, the next thing we did while we were there was we sampled some dumps. Again, right now we don't have any really good ore sitting around to exploit, so we're trying to see if any of the dumps or any product we can easily make from a dump would be useful. So from those big dump especially, we had 3 products. 1/2 inch minus, 1/2 inch plus, and hand sort. Okay. And we'll see if any of those are of sufficient grade to justify mining it, hauling it, and processing it. I'm guessing these are not this mite, but I don't know how much we can generate, how fast. We shall see. This is the one that got me most interested right now. Of the 2 dumps and the across the road hole's got me excited. This stuff's got lots of iron in it. Looks really juicy visual. Iron does not necessarily equate to gold, though. And just because it's on surface, it may very easily be much lower in concentration. Hey, Red Wing. So we shall see. I don't know how deep these diggings go there. I think this one's pretty shallow. I suspect this one only goes down like 5 feet or something, but I'll have to get down and find out. So that's going to take sampling. That's going to take sampling, take cleaning and sweeping and blah, 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 blah. And. Okay. Oil prices. Well, I am funded by the claim owner, and the claim owner has certain targets. Just getting by is not one of his targets. If you have a situation where all you can do is break even, then you could get the same place by sitting in front of the TV and drinking a beer. Okay. The reason you would continue to operate like that is you think it's going to get better. In this case, we decided to discontinue the exploitation at top of the hill and middle decline of Montana B, because neither one was really getting us the grade we wanted for, call it reasonable profitability or target profitability. So if what you got isn't good enough to get you where you want to be, you need to look for something else. One of the big traps that you can get is keep pounding away at something that's not going to pay off in the way you really want it to. Okay. To quote Ann Landers, I read decades ago, you're never going to find Mr. Right hanging onto the arm of Mr. Wrong. Okay. If it ain't cutting it, you either need to explore there or explore somewhere else. So that's what we're doing. This year, the primary emphasis was on exploration. And during slack time, we were crushing and grinding stuff. We've run 2 batches so far. And we dumped the second batch, and when we're out at the mine, we'll be pumping solution through the resin cartridges and recovering it from that batch, etc. And so we don't we're not terribly worried about milling this year unless we find something that looks pretty juicy. I mean, if we come up there and we find that we got some stuff here that's running nice high grades, yeah, then we'll see about exploiting it. But right now we're in an exploration, not an exploitation mindset. That's why. You can spend all your life beating your head against a wall and the wall can win. Find a different wall. So that's the stratagem right now. Plus, I've got the stuff from Central America that keeps life interesting. And yeah, we'll see how all that stuff works out too. Which leads me to the next subject, gold and pyrite. Now, I am not sure what the exact situation is, but last night I was talking to one of the gentlemen from down there, and he was of the opinion that once they had extracted the free gold from the pyrite, they were then disposing of it, which it was my understanding was not happening. It was my understanding that once they had recovered the free gold from the pyrites, they were being stockpiled. Now, the reason is very important. When you have gold and pyrite together, quite often you have gold in the pyrites, not just associated with, not just, well, it concentrates with the pyrites, okay? It's actually in the pyrite, okay? And therefore, the pyrites can be extremely valuable. We have plausible data to assume that just the pyrites, once you've removed the free gold from them, may be running about 1% gold. Okay? So that's not something you want to throw away. So I'm not sure exactly what the situation is. One of them is traveling down there. I don't know if it's even as we speak. JFO, seriously?
Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, seriously. I was.
He was almost struck speechless. He told me I can't even talk about it right now.
But anyhow.
Sarah says has to be chemically done, something.
Yeah, generally, yes. Correct, Sarah. So anyhow, this is why I've been waiting for two things for about a month or more now. The lab supplies and the sample itself. While samples in general are good, you really need samples of the material you're actually going to be working with. Things can vary enormously. Nature is very complicated. You need samples of the material you are actually going to be using to have a good chance of getting accurate results and predictions. Okay? So we're working on getting me a sample. We're working on getting the lab set up for everything. We've got a little furnace over here that's the same thing as what they're doing. While you're here, Chris, my basic thought was for small scale stuff. Okay. First, they table it, call it roughing tables. Then they take one of the tables and use it as a finishing table because that's what they've got. They get the gold line and they suck the gold off of the gold line. Okay? Have you seen the video that Eva has on her phone about them sucking off the gold line? But anyhow, when they do that, then they hand pan to a very rich gold concentrate and then smelt it. Now, it's my belief that it's really useful to roast that first to get rid of any sulfides that are in it that are contaminating it, because that way your smelting process is going to be unaffected by sulfides. Okay? So I've got one of these little furnaces here. Basically, it's a chamber that this crucible slides down in, and the heating elements are around it and stuff. And my thought was, if you have your gold super concentrates in there, and just use an aquarium pump and a stainless steel tube to run air in there once it gets hot until the sulfides are done roastifying, then add your flux and actually smelt it. Do you see any problem with that as a first iteration concept? Does anything jump out at you immediately? I know in some cases when you roast sulfides, you can have significant gold losses. I will be testing that. First of all, I requested a 50-pound sample of clean sulfide cons. Okay. And so I'm going to be sending off a split. I'm going to be blending and splitting, sending off a split of the sulfide cons to Hittle for a direct assay. Okay. Then I'm going to roast some of the cons in terms of not too much air because carbon crucible. I'm also going to be so that's why I was saying an aquarium pump with a throttle valve to make sure it's not blowing too hard. Just enough to keep some oxygen down there. Okay. And so I'm going to roast some of the sulfides and, weigh before and after, adjust, etc. And then send that to Hittle too and get an assay on that and make sure that the roasting itself doesn't potentially lose any. Okay, Sarah, that's an excellent question. That's because gold and or certain gold compounds can sometimes vaporize and go away. Okay? It's not every time, but it's sometimes, and it can be substantial. When we were just drying our resin from the Eco Goldex leaching in the oven, we were getting up to 50% losses of the gold through vaporization. 50%. That's pretty pricey. Yeah. So anyhow, so therefore you want to test these things. Okay. Don't assume anything. Test it on a small, catastrophic failure is not expensive level first. Okay. So it's, yeah, if it was absolutely noble, you couldn't dissolve it in anything, Sarah. This is, people misinterpret the phrase noble metal to mean completely impervious to anything. If it was, how could you get it in solution? It's not completely inert. And certain conditions can cause less. Chris sent me an article. It was a study, I believe it was by the Bureau of Mines, wherein they made an artificial ore out of gold chloride and silica sand and found like 5% losses heating it to, I think it was 300 degrees, something like that. However, when they added iron pyrite, notice the term iron pyrite? Pyrite? The losses exceeded 90%. Okay? So, this is why you have to test these things. Dan was just telling me, I think it was yesterday, that a lot of the sulfides in that area over in Washington State, they can also have substantial vaporization. Okay. If you have substantial losses during roasting, then you need to address that problem. If it's only a percentage or two, hardly noticeable, might not be a big issue. If you're losing 50% of your gold to roasting, yeah, you're not going to roast. You're going to do something else. You could chemically oxidize. You can put it in a strongly oxidizing environment and add heat and pressure and things like that. Basically put it in a pressure cooker with the right chemicals and turn those sulfides to sulfates or something like that. I haven't gotten into that in any detail because as of the moment, I don't have to. Hey, how's it going, P-Man? Did the carburetor work? It has not showed up. Okay, I was just at the post office today and it did not show up yet. Not surprising. I wouldn't worry about it.
This is Helena, Montana. Everything takes longer.
Yeah. If it's not here by next week, we might need to see about checking on that. Thank you very much, by the way. I appreciate that. But anyhow, so there's ways of dealing with it, but they're not as simple, especially on a small scale, as simply roasting it. But if roasting causes significant losses, you're probably better off doing something else. Again, what I said earlier, this appears to be 1% gold. Okay. Something on the order of 4 grams per pound or $400 per pound. Okay. You can afford a little bit of chemicals for that. Thank you, P-Man. We appreciate it. This thing we're doing there at the, what we call the across the road thing, that looks pretty interesting. And it's a lot easier to get to than where we were last time. Oh, a lot less work. It's so nice. And take a quad to within 100 feet of it. Piece of cake. But anyhow, this gold in the pyrite, you don't assume you know how to get it out without testing. Yeah, there's all kinds of ways you could scrub. The exhaust would be another way of doing it. But again, none of that is simple. The simplest thing is if you can just heat it, roast it, and you don't lose any gold. That would be great if it works. If it doesn't, you adjust. The original plan is you roast and then bleach. Whoa. Slippery floor, so I got tape on. And just a bottle roll would work. Again, when you're dealing with $400 a pound and you're getting 5 to 10 pounds a day, it changes the economics of things, and a large bottle roll is adequate. Okay, so we'll see what happens, but I want a big sample so I can do lots of stuff on a small scale, and then I can kind of scale it up once I've got something that pencils out real well and checks out real well on a small scale. So that's the basic plan, but until I get it, I can't really do much. Still waiting for some lab supplies to show up. Then I can start the leaching tests in terms of the EcoGold-X versus glycine versus thiosulfate. And those I can do. All I need is the gold leaf and the copper sulfate. It hasn't showed up yet. Once they show up, I can start those tests, and those will be pretty interesting to do. So that's what's going on there. The guy who runs the lab here, Alpine Analytical. We're going to try and get together sometime in the next couple of weeks to go to his storage unit and seeing what kind of stuff is just direct. I mean, it's just gathering dust and stuff, and he just give it to us. So it'll be interesting. Possibly do a digestion directly, possibly, Chris. I say at this point I haven't really researched it because I have nothing to research it with. So I haven't spent a lot of attention with that. Plus, I have to take into mind okay, the nuggets found looked like the surfaces were sandblasted with coarse media. I would say that means that they haven't traveled very far from the original source, man. If they're rough instead of rounded, they haven't traveled very far. So your mother lode should be relatively close by. Okay? If you go upstream and keep sampling your gold traps and then find out where all of a sudden the gold in the water course drops off, start looking on the sides of the hills and start panning the soils and going up. Okay? And see if you can find the original hard rock source. Okay, that's how you find a mother lode. But anyhow, so he's going to be maybe providing us with some interesting stuff. Really nice guy. We're probably going to have to use him due to the import-export controls and this and that and the other. It seems at this point, it hasn't been defined, but in order for DHL to ship this 50-pound sample I would like, they have to have a letter from a lab that says, I want to request this sample for this testing, and then they can do the paperwork for that and ship it. And so Chris will be providing that paperwork once we know exactly how we need to word it. Okay? So, in terms of direct digestion of the sulfides and the gold, entirely possible. Again, I haven't done it. Those guys down there are not really good chemists. We need something as simple as possible. Say, start simple, work your way up. We'll see how it goes. And so I say we'll worry about direct digestion later on. And again, it may be instead of a bottle roll, you use a pressure cooker, not an aluminum pressure cooker. You know, you need a stainless steel autoclave or something to that effect. But that might work just fine. I don't know. I'm wide open at this point. We'll see how it goes. First step is just try roasting and see what happens. If it works, it is real simple. It is real low tech. And they should be able to do it without a whole lot of supervision. Remember, I said, I'm not sure if they're even keeping all the pyrites right now. You know, so we shall see what we shall see. But that's kind of the level of progress we've made so far. It's basically on hold at the moment while stuff is in transportation. It's on its way. So we shall see what we shall see. And get explosive amines or something, Chris? Again, if the roasting doesn't work, or if there's substantial losses, then I'll worry about other stuff. It could be Brian, although, you know, we we'll see what heat. I mean, you could probably just take a bottle roll and put a little room heater right next to it or something too. We're planning probably something like that this winter, Sarah. Right now, I don't even have my passport up to date. Eva and I are going to have to get our passports up to date. And the idea is tentatively this winter, when things settle down up here, head down to Central America for 2 to 4 weeks and just work full time directly on that mine there. Okay. And try and upgrade everything. That is the plan. Yeah, Sarah, but shipping me 50 pounds of a dry solid is a lot easier than going down there. Plus, this way, when I need something new, I can just order it from Amazon. It's here, in 4 or 5 days. I can get to the next step, whatever. It's entirely possible that the roasting's not going to work that well. We'll see. If it doesn't, then I'm going to be doing other stuff again on a small scale, basically a test tube scale, and seeing how this works and how that works and how the other works, etc. There. OxyClean at a pH of 1.5, huh? Maybe so. We shall see. Once I get it figured out, we'll worry about doing it down there, Sarah. It's a lot easier for me to figure out up here. This is where all the stuff is.
Yeah.
You know? And so, we shall see what we shall see. It's also entirely possible that I can roast it, repulverize it, and get a pretty good gravity extraction before leaching. I don't know. The tentative plan now for the real small scale stuff for regrinding is simply buy an old blender and just throw it in there. Bet you that'll powder it up. Hey Shane. So anyhow, these are the paths ahead of us here. Meanwhile, by doing stuff in parallel, like on the weekends we get to go out in the field and get stuff and then work samples, work the mill, and work on this. We stay pretty busy, and we shall see what we shall see. So that's, I think, that's the basic update. Uh, we're it's interesting to me and challenging when I'm dealing with gentlemen who really have no experience in extractive metallurgy, trying to make sure they don't get distracted with something and wind up over here when I wanted them to go there. That's pretty challenging at times, apparently. I'm seeing about doing a lot more writing stuff down, sending it in an email and stuff, so that we can keep on the right track. For all I know, Jared was simply mistaken. And, Brandon was in fact stockpiling all the sulfur. We shall see. I do not know. So, I say that's that's where we're at right now. And hopefully by next Monday, lab supplies will have showed up. And I can at least start doing my dissolution testing. By the way, thank you, Brian. That's a really great method you came up with for testing solutions with that gold foil. That's just genius in its simplicity. I appreciate that. And hopefully, what? Okay, I've read everything there a minute or two or three or four ago. What are you talking about?
There seems to be some debate going on.
Yes, I know. And they're debating it. Okay? You know? So, I don't know enough to have an opinion on that chemistry there. There are 15 of us. Why not 15 likes? Okay.
Good question.
Is there some funny money around?
Yeah. The cool piece we got in the mail. The way cool piece that we got in the mail.
I want to switch back to your screen, little one, because I just whacked the camera again. The other one. Okay.
Good enough.
Yeah, we got a little piece of money. It's left, right is screwed up there.
Absolutely gorgeous. I love it.
I was surprised at how much the postage was on this, though. You know, it should have only been, like $1 or something. I would have thought.
It is so cool. I love it.
Isn't that cool? So that's what we're.
Yeah, Larry, Curly, and Mo, three of my favorite people.
That's what we're up to at the moment.
I was very, very happy to see that.
And we shall see how things turn out. But looking pretty interesting. Could stay pretty busy. I don't know who would accept it, Ryan. But anyhow.
Oh,
so that's the situation.
You never know. We may be able to find some very strange person who worships at the altar of Larry,
yeah,
Curly and Mo.
Also, I don't know if you people noticed the news, but they had a shooting, I don't know, 60, 70 miles from here in Anaconda. 4 dead, and the suspect is still on the loose. Ex-Army veteran. He was a tanker. He wasn't like special forces or anything. But anyhow, that's a little thing here. When we're out in the field, we're way the other direction. So shouldn't affect us at all. So, probably judge that. Who knows, Chris? But so that's an interesting. We're probably the bar shooting.
That bar shooting is a little bit weird.
Yeah, the guy's still on the loose. Lauren is working much closer to them than us, but even then, he's still unlikely that the guy would get that far. We're probably going to go out and help Lauren do some work on Thursday, but I don't think it's going to be something that we'll be at liberty to video and put up a thing on. But we are going to be helping him out. It's kind of a secondary thing. They're hopefully they'll be finishing up this phase, I guess, of core drilling. Then there'll be a bit of a break. It's been quite of a grind for Lauren because there's very little time to sleep. He's supervising 2 drills, 2 shifts a day by himself. He's not working them, but he's doing everything else. So yeah, it's really quite quite challenging. So that's another thing. Is there anything else you can think of, little one?
No, not offhand. I'm just looking forward to getting built that storage unit.
Yeah, storage unit would be pretty good.
The fairy god scientist is sending me more.
Not around here, David. I think there's some big fires in like Oregon or Washington State. We just got another heavy rainstorm today here. We've gotten a fair amount of water, so that's right now. We're not looking at too bad a fire situation at the moment. Don't worry about it, honey bunny. Why don't we table that? Okay. And so it's not looking bad at the moment, but it's been a fairly wet late spring and early summer. So it could have built up a lot of grasses and shrubbery and stuff that by mid to late fall might be a problem. I know that Lauren almost had to stop. Okay, honey bunny. So he almost had to shut down once this season because the fire danger was getting so high, the Forest Service was going to basically suspend any work for that reason. Okay, Chris, let's just table that for now, okay? But anyhow, so don't know what the fire is going to be later. Right now in this area, it's not bad. Okay.
Yeah, I have not seen it this green in the general area since we moved up here. I mean, it's freaking as green as Ireland. But it was so funny out there at Montana this past weekend because the other side of the ridge was all nice and green. Our side of the ridge was not.
I know. It's kind of weird how these things happen. But you notice when it rained,
yeah,
it rained on the far side of the ridge.
Yeah. It was very, very, very strange. Interesting how rain follows paths. Because that ridge is not necessarily high enough to affect others.
You can also use a Portland cement, Shane. You don't need to have bone ash. If you're not doing like fine assaying and stuff, if you're just removing the lead, you can use the just Portland cement in a crucible just as a container. And the Portland cement will suck up your lead oxides.
Yeah, Shane, if you want to try using Portland cement and you have any old crucibles around, rather than Qpels, what you can do is you just you can put the bone ash, you can put the Portland cement, in the crucible, and then use any hemispherical item that happens to fit.
A ball of the right size, whatever.
A ball the right size, or in my case, I use an insulator, a glass insulator, to make a little divot so that you can put your lead button in it. And then when you're done, all you have to do is dump out the saturated Portland cement and either re-up it, add enough Portland cement to do it again, or you can get your crucible back if you didn't break your crucible. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I say
I weigh everything, and I always tell people to weigh everything.
if you're not doing precision assaying, it'll work fine. For precision assaying, it's better to go with the actual QPELs. Yeah. But I don't know. I was hoping to have had the samples here and everything and be having some real fun by now, but I guess I got to wait a little while longer. Roasted eggshells, huh? As well as lime.
Like,
Well, that's just lime,
wow.
as opposed to quick lime. What?
My friend over in England just paid $60.32 US to get a hold of an American silver because of the bat. Silver has a bat on it.
So currently, the silver value is what, 38? So basically, almost twice what the melt value is, huh?
That's what it cost them to buy American silver eagles over in Britain.
Buy junk silver coins.
He said it's almost impossible now to find old English silver over there because everybody bought it, even with that price. And getting American silver.
I don't know.
There's a headline you don't see every day.
Sounds painful.
Yeah.
Well, what is bone ash per se? Is it like an anhydrous calcium carbonate or calcium phosphate or what? Could you use the ground as a crucible? You mean like with a torch sort of thing? Yeah, I wouldn't. By the way, when you're cupelling, you're making a significant amount of lead oxide, which is highly toxic gas. So you need to have good ventilation.
Yeah.
To protect yourself from that, Sarah.
Just so you know, Sarah, crucibles are what you do your initial smelting in to get a button. And cupels are what you use to turn that button into a bead. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me Mount Baker's done some things like that. Jason over there is always doing interesting experiments. Not that I'd advise it.
You could just take a cast iron can of some sort or another and fill it with
Portland
cement and then use a torch.
Yeah, I would love to get a hold of some bone ash crucibles and cupels myself. Bone ash. I have heard.
I think he means cupel. Yeah.
Yeah, bone ash
carbonate
is good.
And phosphate. Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Sarah. It's not usually done because if you're dealing with gold or whatever, you want a fairly controlled environment.
Yeah, you also want it in something where it can't get away. Yeah. And I have not tried the pile of Portland cement on the bottom of a furnace yet because my furnace is mine that would be amenable to that. But yeah, it can work.
So the other problem is that the lead oxide will soak in significantly to the Portland cement. I mean, as in, over an inch. So that can cause a problem. Hey, Mr. Lodak, it could cause things to start sticking to the bottom of the furnace too. A lot of times they'll put bone ash in the bottom of a furnace so that if they have a spill, it will protect the bottom of the furnace from the flux. Those molten fluxes are really corrosive. Bismuth, never tried it. Brian, according to Eva, bismuth has problems with.
It can mess up your silver.
So she prefers not to. And so
Yeah,
just
I
not
have a
having
nice big chunk of bismuth here, which I am considering melting, if only so I can turn it into the beautiful crystalline form of bismuth rather than the block that it's in. But no, I would not want to.
yeah, lime would basically be a calcium carbonate as opposed to
Well,
bone
I've
ash
got
that's
plenty of
calcium.
cupels that are bone ash. I need to get all my.
Yeah, whereas bone ash would be calcium and calcium carbonate and phosphate, I guess. But anyhow, that's why we like to have catch trays in the bottom of the furnace that
Yeah.
we're able to just chuck when we have
That's
a
going to
leak.
be the biggest problem with this new furnace.
But
We're going to need spares.
we have one. There's half size we have. Anyhow, the furnace that uses these rascals says what? You can only use it for
8 uses or 8 hours.
8 hours. And I can see why they're a little touchy about it, because if this fails, when the furnace is literally like this big around it. So if this fails, it's going to mess up that furnace. It also specifically states you should be very careful cooling it back down again and stuff. This just slides right in the furnace. Then there's a little lid that goes over it. And so take it out, pour it, slide it back in, and turn off the furnace and let it cool down to minimize your thermal shock and stuff. So I say that's
Yeah, I've watched quite a few videos on it, Honey Bunny, and I'll tell you, the last time we went to a gem and mineral show, I saw some metal dragonflies that had bismuth crystal wings that were freaking gorgeous. I mean, I really want to figure out how to make those bismuth crystal wings.
yeah.
But yeah, I want to also take, like, they also had these brass heart-shaped bowls that had the little bismuth crystals growing in them. Very pretty thing.
I like the crystals of silver that street tip
Yeah,
grows.
Street Tips makes some pretty
those look
silver
pretty
crystal
cool.
gardens. I want to make them. I want to find out if gold makes crystal forms like that.
I'm sure it would.
I
It'd
want
just
to.
be way too expensive.
I just want to know what they look like.
Kind of like that.
And copper.
Yeah, copper would be cheap.
Well, I'm betting that the different metals have different crystals.
Well, I would presume there's some differences. Yeah. Did the artist glow in the dark? No idea. Anyhow, any questions or anything at this point? Oh, got some interesting questions ahead of us. I need to get the
People
equipment.
getting married, brides black. Oh, it was very pretty, Honey Bunny. They were designs I hadn't seen before. The world of interesting bismuth art has really expanded over the last couple of years. I'm assuming they mass produce them in like Taiwan or China or somewhere.
Probably.
But they had star-shaped bismuth gardens that were inside silver star-shaped bowls and heart-shaped, and
Yeah,
they were very pretty.
it's interesting. That's kind of a winter project. If we had something. So, any questions or anything at this point? For those who came late, found an interesting hole in the ground in the general vicinity of Montana Bee that we call across the road because it's across the road. And The geology looks interesting. The rocks themselves look very high iron. So that looks interesting, but we'll be crushing and panning tomorrow. So we'll start getting more information. At the same time, we'll be crushing and panning the samples from dumps. Working on getting pyrite samples from Central America here, along with getting more lab supplies so I can start working on analyzing that and what's the best way to deal with it. Aside from that, not a thing going on here. Oh, and P-Man says that carburetor should be on the way, so hopefully it'll show up here shortly and we can
what
check
I'm
it out.
curious about with the metals growing crystalline forms, because like Three Tips, when he makes his little silver crystal gardens, the crystals, silver grows crystals in a certain aspect, a certain direction. And I wondered if I use the same principles that he does to create his silver crystals on gold or copper, do those metals produce a different crystal habit than silver does? I am presuming they do, because I know when I plate copper out of solution, it plates out in a very different way than silver does or gold does. So, I was just mildly interested in seeing what habit of the crystals would have.
What makes it very interesting, Shane? Have you got any idea what the grade is? Mineralogy just is visually interesting. What's the dealio? Oh my goodness. Ugh. For a little over an hour. Ask her. Uh, so that's about it here. Not doing too much else. Since very spicy sausage sauerkraut up in Florence is consumption while he's working such long hours. I would imagine, Honey Bunny, it would also depend on both your solution flow and the voltage and amperage gradient and things like that. Probably do some interesting stuff just by varying those. Oh, anybody got any subjects or questions or anything here? Looks like we're pretty well talked out. I know it's a little early, but go ahead and cue it up, Bunny. I'll let you know. Oh, let me check my schedule. Thanks for mentioning that, Bunny. Got a
He'll be right back.
9 a.m. Yeah.
It's quartz vein and totally decimated. I mean, it's just crushed, beat all to hell, almost looks like mud. How much full of iron? I have a sample, but not a very big one because it was hard to get, as with Shane said. That sounds really interesting.
Have you done any panning or anything, Shane?
I'm going to be making fresh kraut here very shortly. I just got to get some more cabbage for it.
Okay.
I'm still side-eyeing that kraut jar that the universe sent my way. Because I've never used a jar. I've used the um, ceramic crocks, but not a jar. So,
Okay, Shane.
sounds
Yeah,
interesting, Shane.
let us know how it goes. Uh, anyone else got anything going once? Oh, I got to remember to take the.
Dog kept in fridge sparks heated debate in South Korea.
Hmm.
Dog's owner said she was worried about her elderly pet's health amid the country's record-breaking heat wave. So she put the dog in the refrigerator.
Well, it seems to be just sitting there having a good time.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and post. Uh, yeah, dog was just sitting on the lower shelf. What?
Oh dear. I expected saving money to feel empowering or motivating. Instead, it just feels boring. No dopamine, no buzz. Just nope, not buying that every day. It's like going to the gym but for your wallet. It's good for you, but damn, it takes money. Does this
Yep,
ever start to feel good, or is this just adult life?
adult life.
Yeah. Oh man. Lucky you, honey bunny. I got one free cabbage. I'm trying to get a hold of a couple of other cabbages. With any luck, I will. I'll see what I can come up with tomorrow. But I'm planning to try this kraut jar, and if I like the way it works, I'll pick up another. If not, I'll get a kraut crock, and the whole house will smell like sauerkraut. And then the bear will be very upset. So Rusty Red, it looks like mud from 10 feet away. No, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, there you go, Shane.
Happy prospecting and keep it safe out there, everybody. We will see you next week.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.